All right. Good morning to those of you on the East Coast. Good early morning to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, and I'm joined by
Jerome Bourgeois, co-creator, co-founder, Movers Shakers Unlimited. And yeah, man, how's it going, buddy?
yeah. How's it going? I
Enjoying
was gonna
this?
say happy birthday for those of you who didn't know. Yesterday was Jerome's birthday. Happy belated birthday. I know I sent you a shout out yesterday, but since it wasn't happening during
Nah,
the
I appreciate
show,
it, man. Appreciate it.
happy birthday once again. And with that being said, I know you're really big on those freebies. I know we talk about it sometimes that happen on birthdays. So I know you had a chance to take advantage of some. You want to share?
Oh yeah, man. All I'm gonna say, yeah, and this is just something I do almost every year if I get a chance. Yeah, there's this link actually. We could put it up there if you want. There's just a whole bunch of different restaurants and stores and food places where you sign up ahead of time or wherever you hit them up. Usually you get some freebies for your birthday. So I definitely encourage you guys to take advantage. I mean, we'll put the link up in there in the chat or
I'll put it. I'll
in the
put it in the
comments. Just check it out.
description. I'll put it in the description.
But yeah, I mean, I'll just give some few examples. I mean, there's like California Tortilla, Starbucks, Pete's, Benny Hot. I mean, was it Panera?
Denny's.
Oh yeah, Krispy Kreme's a good one to get a dozen donuts.
free grand slam at Denny's.
So definitely, yeah, Grand Slam at Denny's, IHOP. I still got to use that one. Jersey Mike's, you get a sub. I mean, so like I said, these are for the most part they have been like at least I can tell you currently that's what these deals are. I mean, sometimes they might change or whatever, but for the most part they're still there. But yeah, it's just something fun to take advantage of, and I'm like, hey, why not? So. But hey, still enjoying. I appreciate it, with the shout out and everyone on Facebook and social media and all the texts and calls, So hey, try to make the most in the with this COVID environment. Hey, why not? go have some fun and enjoy your freebies.
Indeed.
So
all right.
But thanks for the shout out, man. I appreciate it.
For sure, brother from another mother. But so with that being said, guys, you're here for a new episode of This Week in Review. As you know, every single week, every Saturday, we try to do a show that kind of covers the news bits that have made the rounds in the entertainment industry. Know that things get busy in our busy world, so we try to help you guys out by giving you kind of like a recap of some of the cool things that happened over the course of the week. As you know, you can join us live here, which you're doing now. However, you can also, if you're catching us as an archive episode, just know that you can use that hashtag TWnRMNSU is what you saw before you had our faces pop up here. But I'll also put it down below with that lowercase n. So that's This Week in Review, Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And additionally, just know that you can also be a Patreon supporter with us as well. So I'm going to put the link down below, which you see down below. And with that being said, as always, I want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. Give a shout out to Jerome Bourgeois. Thank you so much. Waiting on
shout
it.
Out,
there
sis.
There we go.
She's on vacation. She's catching up on all the Disney shows. She's finally on archive.
That is actually a perfect segue. Nice. So this week we did get a trailer. I know we kind of got a tease of it before, but we actually got a full-blown trailer for the character or the superhero known as Moon Knight. Let me put it up right now.
Moon Knight.
But yes, over the course of this week we did get a glimpse, and this is just kind of like a quick snippet of the trailer. And as I said, new Marvel superhero release here on streaming. He's been around for quite a while, but just to give you some more info, on this character, Mark Spector. It follows, as I said, Mark Spector, an ex-soldier, with who suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and with that dissociative identity disorder, it brings in the question of whether or not he is this avatar for this Egyptian moon god named Khonshu. And with those abilities, from what I understand, those abilities come from the different stages of the moon. So based on how potent the moon is, if it's a full moon, his powers are at their max, and it wanes accordingly based on the different stages of the moon. Now with this superhero, I'll be honest, Jerome. I know not a whole bunch about it. I've my only allusion to this character has been in some animated shows. I know that they had him in like in the Spider-Man show, and they also had him in the Avengers show at one point. But beyond that, in terms of like delving deep into like his his origins in the comics, I'm not as well versed with him, but it's always cool to be exposed to like a new character and the possibilities of that character, and to have a character that has dissociative identity disorder. It always brings that element of mystery of, okay, is he really a superhero, or is it all in his head? And playing with that. So, what are your thoughts on the possibilities with this? Because I mean, from what I understand too, there is also another aspect to this as well, a possibility, if you will, with a new team. Because one thing that I do also know about him is that he is a part of a group called the Midnight Suns that forms in the comics, that includes a lot of the supernatural characters, which, as we know, we will get more than likely get a formation of, more than likely, with Blade on the way, and already having Doctor Strange, and possibly getting Ghost Rider down the line. So go for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the trailer looks great, and I'm glad they finally made this character a reality and brought him into the MCU, and gave him his own series. Yeah, I'll be honest, like I never really read the Moon Knight comics either, but I remember collecting the cards, the Marvel Masterpiece cards and all those, and like his cards were like some of the most badass looking, because it's just like the idea of like this dude who's like nocturnal, going at nighttime fighting crime, and this, like how they drew his costume and everything was like really it was kind of like it makes you feel like a kind of like a cross between like Spawn and Batman almost, but with like a silver, with the silver look. And yeah, I just based on those images, I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, man, this could be a really cool, intimidating character if they brought him to real life. And it's also funny how like Oscar Isaac is like playing the second Marvel character. Well, I think this is his third one. He's played he did a voice for Spider-Man, one of the Spider-Man I think movies or whatever, or animated ones. Yeah. But Apocalypse was Egyptian. Moon Knight as Egyptian. It's just funny. But anyway, I don't even think he's Latino in real life. But anyway, I just thought it was funny. Or has Egyptian origins. So let's just say that for both of these characters. But yeah, it's funny because it's basically like this is kind of like Marvel's version of, you could sort of say their version of Batman that's not like a pretty boy, because Iron Man obviously was a version of Batman, but he wasn't a ninja, and like he can't. But Iron Man without a suit, he really can't fight or nothing. He's not really deadly. It's his intellect that's his weapon, and his resources and his suits, and that's great. But I feel like, at least visually and like thematically, you could almost say he's a version of like Marvel's version of Batman to a certain extent, but with the twist, and that's what makes it cool, because it's like, if it's more of like a psychological thriller, and I mean obviously action packed, and has supernatural elements. To me, that's what makes it kind of interesting and unique, because I mean that's different. That's definitely different, and also we haven't seen that with any of the characters that have been in the MCU. So it's gonna be interesting how he would interact with the other characters, and if people would think he's unstable like the Hulk almost, when the Hulk came out first. But yeah, I think it would be interesting if they are building up to that team up, because yeah, he would definitely fit in well with Doctor Strange and Blade and Ghost Rider, and I mean anyone else that they want to bring into that. I'll say one thing though, I'm not saying I don't like the costume. I think it's decent, but I kind of I don't know, I still kind of felt like maybe they would have had more mystery with the face. Like, I don't know. That's how I imagine how he would look in real life. Like, because if you look at in the comics or the cards, I felt like it was more like mystery because it's more shadows.
Noir.
You don't get to see everything. But that's similar to Spawn, kind of. That's like, and I was like, I like that about Spawn. You know, like with Spawn, when Spawn came to the big screen, obviously they got rid of the cape. I mean, the cape would only come out sometimes, so they kind of changed stuff. And who knows with the next one if they're supposed to be making another one with Jamie Foxx. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, that's one thing I would say. I was kind of like, because I know there is some good. Someone did post a shot of like, or they were commenting that he kind of looks like a Mortal Kombat character. I mean, not the end of the world, but I do kind of see that. But I was kind of hoping that they didn't like show like the mask part, like was more, of a shadowy figure. Like you just see maybe his eyes or something. So, but I mean, whatever. We're gonna see how it plays out, and I'm just really interested to also see how this is gonna connect and what parts are gonna connect to everything else, and maybe there might be some cameos or something. I will also say, like, I'm not well versed at all in like his villains or whatever. So I know the Ethan Hawke character they were talking about, he's not even really in the comics that much. I was reading. It'll be interesting to see, whatever. He's Dr. Arthur Harrow, supposed to be a geneticist whose research into the roots and management of physical pain earns him a Nobel Prize nomination. But however, supposedly, so yeah, there's, I guess you're gonna have that element in it, but I mean, like I said, to me, like I'm always intrigued if there's a there's a villain or something I don't really know, or a character I don't really know, and they got to develop it and elevate that character so the audience can be introduced to this character and grow accustomed to it. So, but I'm really curious to see how they're gonna connect this to the MCU, because this is like the first show. I think, this is definitely the first show with like a new character that's being introduced, because everything else was connected or supporting characters or whatever. They got their own show. So I think it's cool. And this is also going to be a testament to that. Be like, hey, are people going to tune in to see a new character introduced on TV? I think the answer is yes, because you also kind of have a little more leeway because, people could see it on their TV screens as opposed to they have to go out and pay for a ticket, go to theaters. But I mean, like I said, if Marvel can get people to go watch Guardians of the Galaxy when they were like with a talking raccoon with a machine gun, plasma, whatever rifle that was, and a tree that keeps saying "I am Groot," and like I said, most people didn't know who those characters were. I knew some of them, but I was like, most people didn't know, and that was a hit. And then Shang-Chi was a very obscure character, and look, that's a big hit. They're doing a sequel, and even Eternals. Like I said, you can bring in any character. I mean, they've already proven that they could do this. So, but it's cool that they're doing this. And then, like I said, we're gonna get She-Hulk, we're gonna get Ms. Marvel, even though those have direct connections and supporting cast that are already established. But he's really like, I mean, it's all Oscar Isaac and Moon Knight, and it has to just work because that's what you get. Unless there's some cameos in there we don't know about. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there could be someone in there.
Indeed. I guess the thing that will be interesting for me is just that idea of what I do recall from that character, and especially on how they try to execute it in other forms of media that I've seen, is that he's not a very, lovey-dovey, fluffy character. He's a pretty dark character. And even, if you check out any of the pages from his comics and how he operates, it's a very dark character. So I find it a little ironic, now that we have some characters crossing over from the Netflix universe, now crossing over to the MCU, and how that's going to translate with that same idea in mind. If this had come out in the era of Netflix, I feel like it could have gone to some very interesting places. And I'm curious to see if it's still able to do that based on the streaming channel or the streaming platform that it's on. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, with the MCU, with the shows that they've had, they've been able to push the envelope a little bit, but I still don't feel like you would be able to go as dark as you would if you had it maybe on Hulu or if you had it on Netflix. So, I'll be really interested to see how they're able to execute that. I mean, perhaps they'll do it by having him fight creatures. Now, I'll show in a new image that we have here, and also as I'm doing that, I want to give a shout out to Leroy. He created a lot of these gifts. I want to give credit where credit is due. But yeah, this is another image from the trailer. And a lot of people have been speculating as to, who this character is that he's fighting. And it doesn't look like a human being. I don't know if you've heard this information, JB, but like just that idea that it could be another character from Marvel Comics. It could very well be a Werewolf by Night. So we may actually have some supernatural characters incorporated in that. And that's kind of a way that you can sidestep the violence thing of having him fight, creatures in a brutal way versus fighting human beings in a brutal way. And don't get me wrong, like in a trailer, you can see that, there is some like action sequences where, people are bloodied and all that. But still, like, I'll be really fascinated to see how far they're able to push the envelope, so to speak, to make sure that they are being true to this character in terms of like how dark he goes. So that would be my only thing that I would be fascinated to see. Do you have any other final thoughts before we hop into our next story?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that last part, because it's like that if since he is a darker character, that is something to think about. It's like, is this going to be the precedent set for how Blade is going to be, executed? Or I know Deadpool 3 is definitely going to be rated R, and I don't know, they'll probably put on who knows. But I mean, if you really think about it, I get it, because Disney has a brand, I know, like whatever, people. Yes. But yeah. But I'm saying, if you really think about it, though, like, I mean, when you pay for a streaming service, like, they can do whatever they want if they really do. It's just Disney probably saying, hey, we have a brand and we want to, and I get that. But it's not like they have limit, like, like CBS, when CBS had CBS Access, like, they had some of their shows. Like, I remember the Good Wife was always, it was network television. But then when they had The Good Fight and it was on CBS Access, then, I mean, they were cursing and everything. They could do that because it was streaming. I'm not saying Disney's Plus is going to go all the way out there because they have a certain brand, and I get that. But yeah, maybe maybe they'll have I don't know. I'm thinking Hulu. Like, I really think Hulu is where they would put a lot of this stuff. I mean, like, because they own most of that for the most part, unless they have like an offshoot. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna be really interesting, because I was having this discussion recently, just talking to one of my other friends about this, and we were like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with some of these characters, because like I said, these aren't all PG-13 characters. It's like, once they get the Punisher back, I mean, you can't have Punisher just like, look, we can't have.
You saw what they did with Punisher with the whole we can't symbol, have him, like, I guess they're trying to like adjust his image too with the symbol as well. So like, yeah, there's a lot to that. The skull,
what do you mean? Oh, have it what, like, so like
there's a controversy about them and make it what, like making a change to that iconic image for the Punisher. Yeah,
but anyway, they got to keep that. But I'm just saying, like, that was the main issue, obviously, with X. Remember with X-Men? It's like Wolverine. Finally, next to X-Men, you're like, he stabbed the guy, that he takes
blood.
And then you're like, well, where's the blood? I was like, finally, when Logan came out, you're like, yes, if you're a real guy with claws coming out of your knuckles, you're gonna be chopping heads off, I mean, you're gonna get. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, what do you guys expect? So it's like, we have Deadpool. At least they're doing the third Deadpool. But
hey, look, speaking of that was a whole different other era too. Because like, I remember, I have that movie on DVD, and as I say, guys, like, I'm big.
Which one?
Like, I'm a big, geek when it comes to like listening to the commentary about like the behind the scenes stuff that was happening. And like, just, I don't know if you had listened to the commentary on it, I said, for you guys up there, I would, recommend it to you, because it gives you some good insight or inside baseball with movies. But with one of the scenes, that scene where they have like the descent into the mansion, that scene where he like puts his claws into the guy in the kitchen, like, they were the MPAA, the rating organization. They were going to actually change the rating just based on how intense of a reaction Hugh Jackman had in doing that action. Not even because of the blood, just because he did it so intensely. They were like, "Oh, he has to pull that back a little bit. That was a little intense in terms of how he did that."
Oh, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous. I'm
like
gonna
they
have to
almost
listen to
had
that
to change
commentary then.
their rating, or sometimes they have to like shorten the length of a scene, just
Yeah, that
to
happens. I've
make
seen
sure
that
that
with
they
other
hit a
with like
certain
some horror
rating. So
films.
like all of that stuff I find fascinating, but it's crazy. I
But
mean, I think
it's so
it's a
political
little
though
more lax
because it
now,
also has to
but
do
yeah,
with
like 10 years
context.
ago, it was ridiculous. Like,
No, but you know, it also has to do with context
yeah,
of like the type of movie it's about. Because like, look, it's Saving no for real. Saving Private Ryan had tons of violence, but it's historical. It's World War II, so they give it a pass. But then if it's like I used to work at a production company that had horror films. We had to watch it for stuff like that. And there was one the same sort of thing. Like this one movie, I forgot what it was called, but it had like because someone got stabbed in the leg or something, and like whatever they had that made it like NC-17, like just how they showed it. So they had to just take that scene out, and I was like, this is so stupid, but
hey, it is what
it
it
is.
is.
That's what it is. You have to play those games. I mean, even remember the first RoboCop? I think that was rated. They said
Yeah,
I laugh how
no,
they call it X. They said X.
yeah,
I was like, X can be for violence, but anyway, they had to tone down some, even
it's
though it was
pretty
pretty violent.
violent.
It gave me
Yeah.
nightmares. That gave me nightmares when I saw that movie as a
Especially
kid.
the what is it, the
RoboCop.
toxic waste
When he
guy?
blew his.
Like, yeah, that was crazy.
Well, no, that part, yeah, that was nasty. But I'm talking when they when they shot him
Yeah,
at
when they
first,
just
like
like
that
went to
really
town
gave me
on,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
that was crazy.
yeah. Anyway, but
That
like I said, they
comparison.
had to like tweak some stuff and then became R-rated. But anyway, yeah. So that's my main issue. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I still think they can do it if maybe, like I said, if they're gonna have to, maybe not this one, but if maybe some of the other ones are gonna maybe have to put on Hulu, whatever. I think they should figure it out because they're only doing a disservice if they if they're gonna not if they're gonna water stuff down because and like some of them interact with like I mean, like I said, you already haven't. Well, you guys should. I'm not gonna spoil it. You guys should still watch Spider-Man, but there's some characters that interacted that are more R-rated, and like I said, even Punisher in the comics, his debut was in Spider-Man, and he was so it's like, let's be real. But I don't know. And Wolverine, if they bring Wolverine again, what did Wolverine do? What was his entrance? He was hunting down the Hulk. Think about it. That would be awesome if they did that. But he's not gonna be just like scratching. He's gonna be stabbing at dude.
All right, let's
All
move
right,
on.
so yeah, I thought that's we going on a tangent.
But still, with that being said, unfortunately, like with talking about that, talking about Moon Knight,
yeah.
We had some unfortunate news that made the rounds this week, and we had the passing of a league of oppressive artists. We had Meatloaf, we had Louie Anderson, and we had and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, folks out there, Gaspard Ulliel.
Ulliel. It's like
Ulliel.
Gaspard
But yes,
Ulliel.
like
Something
all
like
three
that.
of these gentlemen, they passed away this week, and it's crazy, based on the circumstances, for each case. Jerome, you hear this news about these three artists passing away this week, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean even
Right.
with Bob
Yeah.
Saget passing away before. I mean it's
Yeah.
I mean obviously we talked about Sidney Poitier and then
Betty
New
White.
Year's Eve. Remember Betty White passed away. I mean it's nuts. I mean hey, I mean you live life to the fullest. You never know what's gonna happen. But it is sad seeing some of these guys who they've made like classic either music or songs, or they've been in some classic films, or just were and also just good people, or I mean, like I said, obviously I didn't know any of these musicians or actors. Well, all of them are actors, because even Meatloaf. It's funny because I totally forgot that he was in Fight Club, and I was
That's what I
been in a lot.
Yeah.
And he was and I was like, yeah, he was in that. He was in Black Dog. I know like a lot of people know him from Rocky Horror Picture Show, so that was like, but yeah. Music wise, look, I'm gonna be honest. I never really listened to his music, but I do know his main song. I would do it for love, but I won't do that. I always wondered why he called himself Meatloaf. I don't even know, but I'm like, whatever. That song. I mean, obviously, you grew up in our time, like when we were growing up. I mean, they always play that song, and that's I know some people like there's parodies based off of that song or whatever, but because it is kind of hilarious, but it's memorable. I mean. When I think Meatloaf, I think of that song. Louie Anderson. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch. I remember his show back in the cartoon or whatever, The Life
Louie
of
on
Louie and
Fox
all that. Like,
Kids.
I
Shout out
didn't
to
really,
Fox Kids
or
back
whatever.
in the
Yeah,
day.
I would always, I would always, we'd always joke about, like, try to do his voice or whatever. And like I said, I didn't really watch the show, but
Also coming
hey,
in
man,
America.
he was
A
in
lot
Coming.
of people forget that.
That's what I was saying. He was in Coming to America, and he was in the sequel too. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that shows like Eddie Murphy's like, you know, relationships with comedians. Like, I mean, he had Arsenio Hall and Louie in there. You know, like, that, you know, that's great. It's always great, like when you have big comedians putting up, you know, collaborating with other comedians. So that's always great. But yeah, I mean, you know, it seems like a lot of these, you know, a lot of those guys, they're friends with each other. You know, maybe not all of them, but for the most part, like they support each other, and that's how you put people on too. So, you know, big up to, you know, obviously big up to Eddie Murphy and putting him in that movie. But yeah, I mean, he was his Louis, you know, he was his own, he had his own style. He had his own, you know, image, and, you know, it was his own brand of comedy. And lastly, you know, this one I think is really tragic because this guy, Gaspard Ulliel, I know I'm probably mispronouncing a little bit. I mean, he died in a ski accident at 37, and he's in the new Moon Knight show. It hasn't even come out yet. So that is really, you know, just terrible. I mean, because, I mean, no, that's really young. And, I mean, it's sad. Like I said, I know you said you knew him also from
Hannibal Rising.
Hannibal Rising or
film with Hannibal.
Yeah. I haven't watched that, but yeah, I mean, I know he was. I mean, obviously, you know, he's a French actor, so I think, you know, he's probably been. I think he's been in a lot of stuff in France, so he has a big audience there too. But yeah, it's just sad because like someone like that. I mean, if he's, you know, Moon Knight would have probably made him, you know, more people recognize his work some more, and be in some other roles. So that's really tragic. Like, just, you know, 37's young, man. I mean, shoot, that's close to my age.
Both our ages, yeah.
It's yeah, both of our age, yeah. So I mean, that's just terrible to hear stuff. Whenever I hear stuff like this, I'm like, and especially skiing, it's like, I mean, you know, I've never skied before, but it's like, you know, it makes me think like, man, how, you know, should I even go skiing? I mean, but regardless of that, though, it's just terrible that for someone to pass away at a young age, and like especially for just something like that. So rest in peace to all of them, and also I'll say, you know, rest in peace to Bob Saget, because I don't know if we really addressed that last time, and he was definitely a big comedy influence, and you know, obviously Full House, and also then seeing him in Entourage later, and having that contrast in how he does comedy outside of being like playing that role in Full House. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just sad when you hear these stories, but you know, just makes you realize how precious life is, especially in this pandemic and just in general. I mean, you know, but rest in peace to all of them.
I was gonna say rest in peace to all of them, and just breaking it down for each of them. You know, and I apologize, I didn't mention this at the top. Nothing has been provided in terms of cause of death for Meat Loaf as of yet. With Louie Anderson, it was unfortunately cancer, and then with Gaspard, as you said, Jerome, it was the unfortunate tragic accident with skiing. And just going down the line, like with Meat Loaf, yeah, you know, he's had an opportunity. He's with his music and, you know, as an actor. And again, like the primary role that stands in my mind when it comes to him is that character from Fight Club, because it's such a tragic character, but there's some humor in there because I guess there was a condition that character had, that they brought some levity to that role, and he was able to bring that balance of feeling bad for that character, but also, you know, there was an element of humor to it, and that dynamic that he has with, you know, with Edward Norton's character, you know, in that film. And actually, speaking of that, I want to share something really quick, because I actually retweeted it on my Instagram. Is just something that was shared by Edward Norton himself, and you know, typically, you know, you don't, especially, you know, folks like Edward Norton, and he actually even like says this himself. He's not like the type of person who's like big on doing a lot of, you know, social media posts about various things or events, things that happen. But he made it a point to mention Meat Loaf, and let me put it up here now. I'll read it off for you guys. Here we go. Uh, I don't keep pictures from films around home, but I have this one in my office in a frame because it makes me smile every day. It's engraved "Love and Hugs Meet." It sums him up well. He was so funny and gentle and warm to everyone, a sweet soul. Rest in peace, Meatloaf. So, for someone who, just as he was saying, he was talking about that fact that he's not like super sentimental about keeping, mementos like pictures from his films, but he has this particular one. It says a lot about him, just as you were saying, you didn't know him, I didn't know him, but for someone who normally isn't, as sentimental, to be sentimental about, those mementos of memories of working with you in a project, it says a lot about you as a person, as an artist. So, yes, rest in peace to Meatloaf. And then, additionally, in talking about Louie Anderson, I'm brain farting on the name of the show. I want to say it's The Movies That Made Us is the name of the show that we have on Netflix. I believe it's still on there. I believe that's the name of the show.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
guys, I highly, recommend you guys check it out because it gives a lot of, I was talking about Inside Baseball a little earlier. It gives a lot of inside baseball about a lot of those iconic films that we enjoy, be it Aliens, Jurassic Park, Home Alone. They have an episode on Coming to America as well, and they have Louie Anderson, the late Louie Anderson, in that episode talking about his involvement with that film. So I don't know if you recall this, Jerome, but they talked about him. Yeah, I believe how it went down is that he saw Eddie Murphy and his entourage. I suppose they were eating at a restaurant, and he happened to be at the restaurant, and he didn't. He told the waiter that he would foot the bill for Eddie Murphy and all the folks that he had there, but he didn't. He told him not to tell, not to say anything until after he left, after Louis left. And then he got a phone call from Eddie Murphy, basically saying, "Hey, you want to be a part of, this project?" So he tried, yeah, yeah, it
I
was
think I
something
remember.
crazy
Yeah,
like
that's
that. It's
something
funny,
like, yeah.
but
There's this whole bunch of
but
stories of that. That's
hey,
hilarious. No, but
he make
yeah,
yourself.
well,
He
that's what
did
you do.
something unique and to make himself, place himself in, the memorable for Eddie Murphy. But hey, it worked, right? But still, you still once that opportunity comes, you have to make the most of it, and he did. Like people still remember him, from that film and talk about his character from that film. And as you were talking about with Fox Kids, again, shout out to Fox Kids. Y'all kids now, y'all don't know how it was, man. Those Saturday morning cartoon
Louie.
lineups were it back in the day in the 90s. So but yeah, Fox Kids, and I remember, whether it was Bobby's World or yeah, or Life with Louie, like
Bobby's World.
yeah,
Yeah, that
those were
was.
those were some great shows. Those were some fun shows, and I remember them vividly. So to have that show, and then as I said, Gaspard, that I mentioned before, and just as you were talking about being taken away, too soon, where he's just you could say that he was just on the cusp of potentially having his career explode. And it's not like he didn't have a career in that he wasn't, making a name for himself in roles that he had done. He was. It's just that, just as you were mentioning, you could say that his appearance in Moon Knight and being a part of an MCU project could have exposed him to even a larger audience, and who knows where his career could have gone if he was still with us. So again, rest in peace to all three of these artists: Meatloaf, Louie Anderson, and Gaspard. And let's move on to a lighter story. So in news that had made the rounds this week, there was information stating that we are getting a new studio to be built in space. It's crazy to think about, but I'll put it I'll put it up here. So in a story that was shared via Variety, um, we have news that the Space Entertainment Enterprise, otherwise known as C, which is actually producing the the Tom Cruise's untitled upcoming movie that he's still trying to get done. Is planning to launch a sports arena and production studio in zero gravity. They plan to build a space station module that contains a sports and entertainment arena as well as a content studio by December of 2024. So that's in 2 years, guys. Now, Jerome, you hear this news of having this facility being made, and what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I had to put this on as one of those stories. I was like, this is crazy. There was another story we were gonna talk about. I was gonna say how, because Mission Impossible 7 and 8 have been pushed back to 2023 and 2024. And I'm wondering if like maybe Tom Cruise is like, man, I'm tired of COVID messing with my release schedule. So let's make a movie in space. You guys can go watch it in space. Only people who don't have COVID can't go up there. I don't know. I'm just joking. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it's just funny because it's like you can watch Total Recall back in the day. Obviously, that was set on Mars. You can watch or you watch the any of those sci-fi shows, Star Trek, whatever. But I'm thinking specifically, or even in X-Men, the cartoon. Remember with the episode where it's Asteroid M, and then he takes all the mutants up there. They're just and I'm like, this is becoming a reality. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you already have Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Richard Branson all competing they all launching their rockets and really pushing that hard so they can have commercial, make commercial space flight, space traveling a reality. And that's one step. But like, how about, I guess, going on a vacation or visiting outer space and being up there and doing similar things, but with a space, with outer space in the background. So I mean, that is different. It kind of reminds me of also like what they did in Dubai. It's like they built everything up there, and it's like you can ski indoors in Dubai, which is amazing. I mean, I've been there. I didn't do that because I haven't never skied before. But it's almost like that's just a desert, and then with all their money, they just built it up and made it look really, really cool and amazing. And it's like, you can say Disney World for adults out there, but hey, whatever. I like that sort of stuff. It's cool. So I imagine this is kind of like going to be like the space version. But what's cool is that they actually wanted, and they might as well, they want to produce movies there, have sports events. And I guess if you're shooting a movie up there, if they have, obviously they can do the CGI and stuff, but I'm assuming they're probably going to have some parts maybe with like, you could really have you could really be like, this was filmed in outer space. I would think maybe there must be something where you're using the real background. I don't know, but if that makes sense. My only thing though is it's like, it's just so funny how like, this is a priority and that I guess, I mean, it's also smart though, because it's something different, but it's also kind of like, I don't know. I just always look at going to outer space. The idea of going to outer space is like, primarily, for exploring, and you're trying to learn more so we can improve our lives down here or whatever. But it's like, it's almost like I kind of would want to see how it actually pans out first, because it's like, when you're up there, I mean, something goes wrong. I mean, you're really gonna be screwed. So it's like, I don't know. That would be my only, worry would be like, hey, say you're shooting something up there or whatever, and like, I don't know, something happens with oxygen. I mean, I would like to know, like, what are the backup plans to be like, all right, we got to leave now. Are there enough pods to escape? How much oxygen is up there? How much food? I mean, there's going to be a limited supply. I mean, yes, there's places that have limited supply for stuff, but you're still on Earth and you could have stuff shipped in, like you have to, there's just not that extra level of care and I guess, risk mitigation you have to think about, because like I said, we have oxygen here. We don't have to worry about that part. But it would be cool, the zero gravity stuff. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and also like how they shoot this movie, because I feel like that's going to set the precedent. Like, it's funny that Tom Cruise is the person who's doing this, because I mean, it makes sense, but I would think like James Cameron would be doing this first, but he likes the water more. He likes the water and all the other stuff. But you would think that he would jump on board with this because this sounds totally like something James Cameron would do. Because I think he was trying to do something on Mars. Like he wanted to actually shoot something on Mars or something eventually. I mean, who knows? I don't know if that's still gonna happen. But yeah, it just shows where society has gone from there, and has what are the other forms of entertainment that the businesses can offer. And I feel like people would go to some of these events and want to do this. But the thing is, originally it's going to be for the wealthy. I mean, there's no way they're going to charge us a smaller family fee, because no, you got to make I mean, this is an expensive venture. So I'm sure, this would be like a once in a while. Eventually, I think they probably would have like special prices or something. But I feel like it's going to initially be for the very wealthy, just like the Virgin Galactic and all these other companies that might charge like hundreds of thousands of dollars to just fly you up and get to into outer space and just get to see Earth from that point of view. But it's definitely different. It's definitely interesting. I at the same time, I'm kind of like, hey, well, I hope this can help also improve stuff here, because that's also the debate too. It's like, hey, all these people want to go to Mars and everything, which I think is still cool, because a lot of technology that's developed in for space travel, and the science and the scientists and engineers and that are creating these satellites and creating these modules and these space stations, and figuring out how humans can survive, and if they're going to travel to Mars or travel wherever. Some of those things end up like being applied to stuff here on Earth, and and improves our lives down here. So I'm all for that. But I know there's some people who are just like, why are people spending all this money trying to go to outer space and do all this stuff when there's so many problems on this planet that still need to be improved? So, I get that, but hey, if it's private, it's not the government spending the money. You can do whatever you want with your money. And it's like, some people really want to take this adventure and explore space and I guess now commercialize it to a certain extent. But it's gonna be interesting to see how this pans out, because I feel like it's gonna. I think the people who really want to do it and have the money, yes, they'll be able to do it sooner than later. But it'll take some time before I think some people for maybe the masses, or if they can lower the price point. And also, obviously, for me, it's like safety wise, it's like, hey, it's something cool to do, but it's like, kind of want to make sure the backup plans are are definitely on point if anything bad happens. So, but it's definitely interesting. It's unique. So I mean, you tell me.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like at the end of the day, it's a nice little cachet of saying, hey, we did a movie, out in space, or we went to a screening out in space. I know we go talk about advanced screenings all the time. Can you imagine doing an advanced screening or premiere at a space station? I mean, that would be kind of cool. But I'm just saying, like, beyond that, like, I can't really foresee any other reason to do this other than the cachet element of just saying that you're doing it in space. And then on top of that too, that raises other issues also, because they talked about doing a sports arena. Can you imagine the issues that could come up with playing a sport out there and something goes wrong, and whatever technology that they're using to
air basketball,
whatever technology.
So yeah, everyone can be like Jordan.
Saying, like, whatever technology, any technology that you're using to make sure that there is gravity, and maybe the technology isn't working, or it's going on the fritz, and you're not able to play the sport, the way that it needs to be played, or someone will come up with an excuse as to why, like, they lost a certain game. Oh, the anti-gravity wasn't working that day, or it was glitching, so that's why I wasn't able to perform the way I wanted to perform because of the facility. Like, it brings up all this other bag of worms that I don't know if on a sports in a sports element that they want to do. Because let's be honest, like, you know, you have folks that, I mean, now, you know, in Vegas, you have folks that you know, put money up for the games, and like, you know, you have a lot of, you have a lot that's at in play when you're talking about sports games these days. So
They maybe could invent a new sport for, like I said, they could change the. To me, I think that's like the least of their worries. My thing is like the safety stuff, because like something goes wrong, it's like I'm wondering what the insurance is going to be, because I mean, and like how much would that cost? Because that's also like there is no, I don't think there's any insurance. I mean, I haven't seen anything that where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna cover damage in space. I mean, you know, COVID insurance from films, like I don't know what it is now, but like there was like a few companies doing it, and they were charging like 10% of your budget up front. So say your budget's $1 million, you have to pay $100,000 premium just for this COVID situation. So imagine like if, you know, deal with COVID. And I know now things have changed too, so where they don't put that in or whatever. So I'm wondering with, I mean, you probably could still get some, but it's probably ridiculously high, but it might be worth it. But like, think about it. Like, what's the cost for what is a natural disaster is commented. I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. A meteor hits you. Oh, that's natural disaster. No, it's not natural disaster. You're in space. There's a high chance maybe you know, like that. To me, that's hilarious. And like, oh, oxygen. Oh, we didn't have enough oxygen to breathe. You know, like that's. I keep thinking of Apollo 13. It's like, oh, you're stirring oxygen tanks. Oh no, not, you know, like I'm like, you're just doing something normal and something bad happens. I'm like, it's like you're putting yourself in a situation that is very unpredictable. But you know, and it's not gonna be for everybody. But I think the funny thing would be like. Like the whole zero gravity, baby. Like I said, everyone could pretend that they're like Jordan or something. Like try to jump. Like I could be like Jordan now too, right? Like no, it's not the same.
But I'm also saying, what if it keeps going? Like,
yeah, who knows,
keeps,
man?
like cutting on and off. Like, what is the insurance on that? So can you imagine that you're in zero gravity and then the gravity machine comes back down and comes back on, and then you fall? Like from like, you know, really high distance, you know, high elevation. So like there's so many different pieces of this that I'm like, yeah, like the cachet, you know, that idea of doing it seems like a lot of fun, but like as you said, like there's too many things to consider, and I hope that they are, you know, thinking of all of those different variables that can be issues safety wise.
I will say the only thing that I think is cool. I mean, like I said, I don't know what this movie is or what it's about, but I think that's where it comes in play the most, because, like I said, if you really want to make a movie in space and have that effect, I mean, yeah, they found a way to replicate that, and we've seen that with several movies. But like, if you could really film your actors in zero gravity and like do that, and like they're really feeling it, like it help. I mean, the more you could do, the better. I mean, obviously, actors are actors, and they have to, you know. From having green screen in the back or to now with the what's it called again that they use with the LEDs, the engine. I mean, they did for the Mandalorian. The volume and yeah, using that technology, like that helps the actors actually like see what's going on so they can have a better performance. I mean, you make it a space movie and you really have that feeling or whatever, and you can see what's going on, like. I think that's where it's probably the most beneficial. But the question is, it's like, how much is that? Like, I mean, is that really cutting your costs down, or like, I mean, is that really helping with the budget? I don't know. Like financially, it'll be interesting to see how that really impacts everything. But I guess if you have a studio up there too, I mean, maybe it could. I don't know. What are the tax credits for shooting space? Right. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is a lot of questions, but it's a hilarious and interesting story. I think, and I am looking forward to see whatever this movie is that Tom Cruise is doing. I like people pushing the boundaries. I think that's pretty cool. Man, I'm sure that costs
for sure. All right, so moving on to our headline story. Anyway. You saw it there in the title for this stream, and it was talking about the Grammys moving to Vegas. Yes, moving to Vegas this spring. In April, it is heading that way, and in that story that was shared, shout out to Variety for this story. It will take place at the MGM Grand, as you can see here in this picture, the MGM Grand Garden Arena on April 3rd. It will be hosted by Trevor Noah. Jerome, you hear this info. I mean, I have my thoughts on it. I was just, as you guys know, I was just recently in Vegas for CES. We were talking about it a couple of shows ago about this, about the Grammys being postponed, and now we finally know when it's going to touch down. What are your thoughts of it being in Vegas and at the MGM Grand, no less?
I think it's cool. It's something different. It's usually in LA. It's sometimes in New York. I really haven't seen it. I don't know if it's ever been I don't think it's ever been in Vegas. It might. I mean, I might be wrong. I have to look it up, but I really doubt it because it's usually in LA, and then a few times it's been in New York. So I think that's cool. But I really feel like it seems like they had no choice because, that's the problem when you're trying to book a show. You're trying to book an event at the Crypto.com Arena, formerly Staples Center. I mean, it's LA. There's a lot of events going on. This is award ceremony season, so for the entertainment industry specifically. So, with this whole Omicron surge that happened, I mean, it impacted your show at CES.
Yeah, they shaded off.
That still went on, but a lot of big sponsors. So they pulled out. So you didn't get the full show, but that's a different type of show. I mean, because that's for tech people and coming in or whatever, and I guess they probably have more money or whatever. Sundance Film Festival had to go virtual. I heard this Annie Awards, and have you heard of that? Like that got pushed back. Critics' Choice Awards got pushed back. What else? There was Golden Globes is a different situation. They just they didn't even telecast. They didn't even stream that because there were other issues. But that went on. But that was a small scale event. Some festivals internationally are kind of doing like a in-person / virtual event. I mean, that's kind of like the future for a lot of places. But also you got to remember it's it depends on the state. We're going to Super Bowl events. That's still on in LA. But the thing is, California is very strict with the rules. I mean, I think that, they're implementing, obviously you have to show your vaccine card if you're going into a lot of events. So it's going to, based on in mid-February, it's going to be interesting to see like what events we actually could cover or not, and like how limited they're going to be. There's that state, as opposed to, like I said, you're in Nevada. I mean, obviously they want people to wear masks for indoors, but they still are able to have some of these events. So it really seems like, because the Grammy, I mean, I was reading an article in Variety and like just looking it up, because like, you have the Oscars, that's going to be March 27th. And yeah, it's going to be March 27th. And, there's all these other awards. I mean, like you have NAACP Image Awards. There's what else? Obviously you had Super Bowl. It's in LA. You have all these events that are lined up that are supposed to usually take place at their normal dates, and the ones that are already kind of planned ahead, because even the Oscars, that used to be. I remember that was in February. They're pushing it out, and they had to because now they know with the whole pandemic and how everything's playing out. They're like, we're not even going to try and have it earlier. We're going to have it later. So it seems like to have a big event like the Grammys, and this time the Grammys, the Recording Academy, they want to have a full show. Like they want to fill the venue, because this is their one time where they really can raise a lot of money. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why they need to have the show. They raise a lot of money. I mean, even if you're a Grammy nominee or you're in the voting member or whatever, you have to still pay for the Grammy tickets and for your guests. So they're making money off of that, and they need that revenue. Last year they had a very scaled down version of the Grammys, and there was no audience. It was just like the artists. They had to rotate outside. It would look so hilarious. They like ghetto, I would say, but whatever. But they don't want to do a scale back show like that. and that was at outdoors of the Staples Center, and they had some performances indoors, and like I said, there wasn't a real audience. They can't really afford to have a show that doesn't generate revenue like last year happened again. So for them, even in the Variety article, you could see that a lot of artists, they were saying they didn't want to come because of the surge or whatever, so they had to push it back. That's why they're pushing it back. So if the schedule is booked for having, try to fill the crypto.com arena to full capacity, what's the next best place seems to be Vegas, and MGM Grand actually they seem to have, they have the availability, and it looks like it's taking the place of where the CMTs, the Country Music Awards or whatever, or CMA, so that's gonna be pushed back, and that's, they don't mind doing that. So to me, that's what seems to be the whole reason behind it, and it makes sense. And also, you got to remember, it's not just the Grammys that's important for that week. That whole week, there's a whole bunch of events. Like there's that Clive Davis Grammy pre-party. I remember I covered that once, and I mean, it's crazy. Like everybody, like that's something where everybody goes to, like, and that's who's who in the industry, and you have performances that are from amazing artists, and it's really like your peers, are listening to know that you've arrived. And there's a whole bunch of other events. All that stuff, a lot of that stuff was either scaled back or just canceled last year or whatever. And so all those, people are promoting, labels are promoting and marketing, and there's also, like I said, that's also bringing a lot of economic activity to the city, and it helps the artists, and everyone that's either nominated or just in the industry, just for networking and for making deals. And like I said, when it comes to the Recording Academy, the more people they can bring, they're just hyped up about coming to the show, the more publicity they're getting. That helps with, people obviously buying tickets, but then, with their advertising revenue, it's a big moneymaker. So I think it's gonna be interesting. And like Vegas is always cool to have events like that. I remember they had the VMAs there once. I was there covering that once. That was like 2007. I don't think they brought back, but like they usually have like the daytime Emmys. We were there covering that. I was covering that once. And then something like, they'll have some of these big events like these, obviously fights and stuff. But I think, was it the NBA All-Star? I heard when the NBA All-Star game was there, that was crazy that one year. So it's like Vegas is a really good venue for any of this stuff. So I feel like that's also, it's a win-win for them, because they like, they obviously, they want the economic activity, and they've been hosting a lot of stuff. So they're one of the places where you can go, even with these stricter rules, because like I said, state by state. It's gonna be interesting to see. Also, I feel like by then it shouldn't be as bad. Like, I mean, unless we have some other surge. I mean, who knows? It's usually the winter time is when this is happening, but I think everyone's also realizing, they're just like, even with the Super Bowl is a big moneymaker, so there's no way they're canceling that. But regardless of even us going down there, I'm still curious to see, like, how are they going to require everyone to wear masks at the parties? I mean, the big party is like the Maximum party. That's going up. It's like, what, is everyone gonna be wearing masks? I mean, I'm just saying, it takes away. If you got to do it, but it's just kind of like that kills the vibe. So it's like, if you're trying to have a full-fledged event and really, do it 100% and like really go all out and try to maximize everything, you need to push your event back. And it's just January, February timing. It just seems to be those seems to be the months where it's really, it's just bad timing for this virus, because these surges. And I feel like every year this is going to seem to be like the time where people are gonna have to plan. Because specifically, like with Sundance, that was messed up, because like this is the second year they're doing a virtual show, and it's like, I mean, I get it, you don't want people to get sick or nothing, but they just happen to be like, I guess they're not going to push their event back, because that's when Sundance is, like, they just can't, maybe, I don't know. But the Grammys, they really need the money, they really want to generate their revenue, and they're not gonna, it's worth it for them to do that. So I think it's gonna be cool though. I think it'll be interesting. I just hope like the show is like, interest. I mean, Trevor Noah, he's good, but I just think the show needs to be really.
I'll say this.
You want to make the show entertaining.
And some of the points you brought up, and I'll just comment on them further. And it's just that idea that, I mean, on paper it makes a lot of sense. Well, first, let me back up. we're just as we've been talking about with some of these events where we're still in the middle of a pandemic, whether people want to believe it or not. And if it means that we have to wear masks, so be it. If it means that like you have to show a vaccination card, so be it. Like I'd rather be safe than not. I'll say that. Now, as I said, I was recently in Vegas, not too long ago, like a week and a half ago. And, MGM is, it would make sense on paper that would be a place that you would have an event of this magnitude. I mean, it holds 17,000, people. And, according to, the article, there isn't a whole bunch that's going on there. So there is enough time between, the events that you have there to sanitize it properly. A lot of times when you are these days, we have at some facilities where whether it's an event, maybe you're staying at a hotel, a lot of times they actually have a new policy in place where they space out the times where people are in those spaces, so that way it provides them enough time to properly sanitize it before it's used again. So yeah, like according to the article, it says the MGM's website shows no public events booked between the John Mayer concert on March 11th and the Nick Cannon one that's more than 2 months after on June 25th. So like you have enough breadth of time to properly sanitize and allow that space to not be filled with people before you do another major capacity show. You could speak to that. I mean, you spoke to it just now. Like I haven't had a chance to go to the Grammys as of yet. It's on my bucket list. I do plan on hitting it at some point.
Definitely gotta go. It's nice, good time. We'll do it. We'll do it one of these years. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I might be there around that time.
But yeah, so no. But again, also shout out to Jerome too, because like he was the one who gave me kind of the rundown. Just as he said on another episode, he gave him the rundown about San Diego Comic-Con, which I so happen to have the shirt on right now. He did the same for me for Vegas because I didn't really have the lay of the land with Vegas. Believe it or not, I just recently gone to Vegas the first time last year. So that helped out a lot once I did the CES show a couple of weeks ago and having my bearings of where everything was. So shout out. But yeah, no worries.
Thanks, brother. You got to be in the middle of the strip. That's what we learned.
Yeah. But no, like I said, on paper it makes a lot of sense. But it will be interesting to see like what other things we hear come out of this show about how they're trying to ensure the safety of everybody that's there, whether it's the people that's working the show or whether it's the people that are the artists that are attending, the media that's coming. Things of that nature. And then even more so, like just like we were saying, Jerome, about the Super Bowl, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. And as information comes in of how, they're going to make changes there. So yeah, any other thing you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, I'm just glad. I will say that I don't think it's really a big deal just pushing back the ceremony. I mean, if that's what you got to do it and change the venue. I mean, like I said, it's better to be safe than sorry if you want to try to maximize your audience and have like a real show as much as possible. It's just kind of funny because it's like usually the Oscars is the last big award ceremony in this like time period, but it's going to be the Grammys this time. And I don't think the Oscars is going to move at all. Cause I mean, their release, I mean, their schedule, the actual date of the ceremony is, I mean, should be, I would think by that time, cases would have gone down in LA and also, the hospitals. Like if people are getting sick a lot by then, I would think they would have it under control by then, and also starting to get warmer. But I mean, like I said, you never know. All this stuff really though, it's just up in the air to a certain extent for how things are going to play out, and that's just what sucks. It's like it's better than nothing. I mean, I'd rather we deal with this than be locked down. You can't go anywhere or everything's virtual. But then again, now you have to play because I mean, like I really think Comic-Con probably will still happen, but like I said, we just don't know for these things because you just don't know if another surge happens in the middle of the summer or something. Like, I mean, Comic-Con could go virtual again.
I hope
mean,
not. I hope not. Not
it's just
3 years in a row. I know you guys had the small show,
but I
but
mean,
yeah,
but like I said,
I need my show back.
but that's what I'm
Even
saying.
if we
It's
have to
like this
wear
is what
masks, I don't
it's
care.
like
We have to
because
wear masks and show
specifically,
cards, show vaccination cards.
yeah, but because yeah, I mean, I think probably not because like I mean, this San Diego needs that money too, man. I mean, that's hurting their economy, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, it really shows. Like, I mean, I'm just assuming for next year, it's like I feel like you got to pick and choose what you want to do in December, January, and February, and it's like, you know, there's a good chance there could be another surge just because people are indoors, and you know, I mean, it is what it is, but. Hey, it's fine. Push stuff. One thing I'm psyched about is the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That hasn't been going on for 2 years. Hopefully that like that party scene is crazy too. But like everything is different now. It's just different. I mean, like I said, I want to go to Sundance. I want to go. Depends on the country. Depends on the state. But it's better to be safe than sorry. And I think, like I said, Vegas is a good. I still think Vegas is a good venue for having pretty much anything, and it's interesting to see something that hasn't been there in a while, or just be there, it really does change the style and the whole scene, specifically like just like the look and everything. Because I remember with the VMAs, that was totally different how they did it, and like how everything was going on compared to like in LA and New York. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, it gave it that Vegas feel, but you're only going to get that in Vegas. I mean, so, but anyway, and yeah, I don't think anything else you want to say, but also I want to thank everyone for watching us. This is our 47th episode.
Well,
thanks for watching.
Century.
47. We're almost at 50.
Yeah. So
exactly.
There's that will wrap up this edition of This Week in Review. Send a shout out again to birthday boy, belated birthday once again. Pass it over to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, man. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for all the birthday wishes again. I appreciate that. But yeah, if you want to check me out on Instagram or Twitter, right here at JWBourgeois21. You also can follow us on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited. So that's at Movers Shakers Unlimited. We're also on Twitter and Facebook at Move and Shake UNLTD. That's Move and Shake UNLTD right there. And like I said, if you want to support us, you're a super fan, just want to, you just love the content we're putting out, you can go to patreon.com/Movers Shakers Unlimited, like Brandon said earlier, but also we have it up there again. Definitely, like I said, like, share, follow, subscribe, YouTube. Like I said, definitely a way to support us too is just click subscribe, and you click the little bell, and you'll get the feed for when we have new shows coming up. So yeah, definitely, YouTube is something definitely that we're pushing this year, and we have a lot of shows and events coming out and things that we're covering, and definitely, you're gonna see them. So and also let us know in the chat, let us know in the comments, or reach out to us if you want us to cover anything, or there's anything specific that you like that we do share, or whatever. We love the feedback, just the interaction. So definitely, and yeah, thanks again also for the birthday wishes. So I'll send it back
there
to
you guys have it again. Shout out to my fellow co-creator Jerome Bourgeois. I'm once again your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me on Twitter right there at Brandon Troy ENT. You can also find me on Instagram at Brandon Troy _ENT. And yeah, just as Jerome was saying, there are quite a bit of shows that are on the way. There's still some that are waiting in the wings, that so to speak, that will be dropped very soon, that are actually already done, that I'm excited to share with you guys, panels and things like that. So be on the lookout for those. But yeah, like I want to say, we still have some CES stuff that's coming. Believe it or not, so much stuff happened at CES. I'm really not exaggerating, guys, that I still need to drop more stuff on you guys. There's still stuff that I need to drop on you guys to share. So You know, be on the lookout, not just on our Facebook, but also on our Twitter, because I'm going to be sharing a lot of the things that happen there on the exhibit hall floor, on the Instagram. Some of you probably have seen already, but there's going to be more, believe it or not. And then also, yeah, we have in a couple of weeks, we got the Super Bowl happening in LA. So yeah, we have some things happening, you know, in that regard too. So be on the lookout, because we'll be sure to share it with you guys, whether it's you know, on our Facebook, on our YouTube, or on our Instagram. So there you guys have it. As I said, wrapping up this episode of This Week in Review. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, be safe out there, and see you soon. Later.
See you around. Peace out.